There was a moment where I literally had to choose continue living with the fear judgment or start the process of overcoming it right now. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Post It Anyway. I am Jessica and I'm here to help you overcome the fear judgment so that you can start posting content. We'd love to see it, guys. It is episode 8. I can't believe we're here, but we are here. Little housekeeping things. I guess, first of all, if you're watching this on YouTube, you can see the background is different. I'm not in my usual environment. I'm actually in Europe for the next couple of months. I'm visiting my partner. So I'm going to be changing the background here and there, maybe like filming in different parts of the house. Second of all, can you hear this audio difference? The mic is here. She's here. That's it. She's just here. And what else? I guess that's it for housekeeping. I kind of just really want to get into this episode since I've been holding it from you guys. Sorry, I did miss last week. I was going to say the reason why, which I will. I was just in Portugal, but that's not an excuse, okay? It doesn't matter. I'm so sorry about it, but I'm here now. And I'm ready to get into it. I believe I mentioned this at the end of last week. It wasn't last week. At the end of last episode, and I was saying how this episode is actually going to be a little bit more personal, a little bit more important, and it is. This episode is really my story and kind of how life was when I was living with the fear judgment and what made me actually decide to overcome the fear judgment. And then obviously here where I am now, where I don't live with the fear judgment anymore. And I'm literally so far on the opposite side that I'm like, my mission now is to help everyone else overcome the fear judgment. So yeah, we're going to get into that. Side note, because this background is so busy, I really hope my screen is focusing on my face and not my mic. That will actually send me, okay? If I'm editing and I realize that my camera is focused on my mic, I'll cry. I will cry, but it's okay. Let's continue. So as I've mentioned before on this platform, on many of my fear judgment platforms, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, or I'm everywhere, honestly. I obviously used to live with the fear judgment, right? And now I post pretty much every day on multiple platforms throughout social media, throughout the World Wide Web. So it's been a big difference coming from someone who was literally paralyzed by the fear judgment, could not post, could not do anything. Okay, I'll even get into it within the story. At one point, I actually deleted all my social media because I just could not handle it. So we'll get into everything. This is one of my first times. I haven't had my hair at this length for a while, so sorry if I'm like, playing around with it, but I'm just trying to like not have it in my face all the time. Anyways, guys, so we're going to get into the background first. So the first moment I actually realized or even can remember feeling any judgment at all in my life, I must have been not older than 7 years old, but I don't know why. I literally remember this like it was yesterday. But basically, okay, it was me and my dad. We went to this church and it must have been a Pentecostal type of church if I was dancing. Okay, this is what I remember. People were dancing, right? And I remember dancing. I remember catching a glimpse of my dad looking at me, and he was like, from what I perceived it to be, he was like smiling but laughing at the same time. And I took that as in he was laughing at me, right? Like he was judging me in some type of way, which is crazy because in hindsight, now that I think about it, I obviously do not think that was happening at all. That's just the way I interpreted it. Whoa, I said that so fast. I'm like, whoa. Took me into a dizzy. I interpreted, you know what I mean, it into my mind. But now that I think about it, the way that I would look at a child now dancing and just having fun, whatever, is the same way that he would look at me. It's just like, it was really, it's because I can see the look in my head. It was really of joy. So that is just the first time I ever even like remember feeling any type of judgment. That is something that, because I was like, how do I really want to start this episode? And yes, I'm going to get into the point where I realized like the fear of judgment literally has to leave my life. But I was like, wait, when did I or do I even remember feeling judgment at all? And that was the first time. When I was growing up, I was definitely shy. I was not the one that was too loud. I was definitely scared to take up space. I was just like, in my own world, my own little bubble. That was obviously like growing up, and I guess you can say elementary school. When I got to high school, I don't really know what changed in the stars, but I started coming out of my shell a little bit, started talking to people more. I guess I got popular. I don't know. Like I would just talk to everyone. Like everyone knew me. It was actually a really great time, which is so interesting because when you're growing up, I feel like when people have these stories or just talking about their lives in general, they always talk about their high school experience being the experience that, like, they went in their shell or they didn't feel comfortable or things like that. But for me in high school, that is actually when I started coming out of my shell, as I was saying, and I felt comfortable, and I had a really good time in high school personally. Another thing too about high school is that I was friends with obviously people in my own grade. I was friends with the people in the grade below me and the grade above me. So I literally just like, there was really no type of judgment that I felt in high school because I was just like free. I really felt free. That's what it was. And maybe because in elementary school, I had like a few troubles and stuff, not being a troubled child, but like, bullying and not feeling 100% comfortable and things like that, that when I came to high school and I felt a little bit more, I don't know, free, open, could talk to more people. I guess you could say even having more friends and things like that, that just made me feel very comfortable. So that's a little bit of my background. I just wanted to let you guys know kind of like how I grew up, if or when I was shy, which is obviously, as I said, when I was younger, and then I grew up, started getting a little bit out of my shell, things like that. I just want to give you guys some insight. So now, obviously, this whole platform, honestly, on my fear judgment stuff posted anyway in general, is more towards like social media, becoming a content creator, posting online. So we're going to gear towards that a little bit. So let's fast forward years in advance. Okay. So from March 2019 to March 2020, I did a nutrition program after college, after university. I did a nutrition program. It was a 1-year program. And the thing about me is that I love health and wellness. I care about actually feeling good and looking good. I'm not gonna lie. I'm vegan, if anybody didn't know that. So yeah, I've always cared about the health and wellness space. Honestly, I became vegetarian when I was 16. So that's part of the reason why I went into that nutrition program. And towards the end of the program, I had to start thinking of decision, right? I had to start making a decision because it was either option A. So with that program, some people, like, you have the option, obviously, if you want to use that diploma, is to either work at, let's say, a gym, a clinic. You could, I guess, open up your own, physical clinic, whatever it was, right? More the traditional route. And what's interesting is that within the same time that I was in nutrition school, I was actually working at a gym, but it was like a healthy smoothie bar at a gym, Revitalize, if that means anything to anybody in Canada, GTA. Revitalize. So I worked at the one in Mississauga. Why am I saying all my tea? But it's true. And in that gym, it was actually called, it was a gym, but it's really called a club because they had so many things. But there was also an in-house nutritionist there, right? And I guess, I don't know why, but I saw obviously her job from the outside looking in. Obviously, I'm not like in her client sessions and things like that. But from the outside looking in, I just knew I didn't want to go down that route. I don't know what it was, but it didn't, I was going to say appetize me. It didn't appeal to me. I was like, okay, like, obviously it's great that she's helping people in the gym with their nutrition and feeling good and looking good and all this stuff, but that is not the route I wanted to go down. And then option B would be to build a business online, right? Either you're doing it in person or you're going to do it online. Those are really the two options that you really want to go down of in this program, right? And I knew that I wanted to do it online since I knew I didn't want to do it in person. However, towards the end of the program, not really towards the end, but I would say December-ish 2019, I guess around Christmas time, Christmas break, I remember this clearly. And I remember a pressure, okay? I remember a pressure of people, like, obviously throughout the program, we're learning different things. We have different specialties that we're learning and all this stuff. And people are starting to get like, you're just starting to chatter about, I want to go into this, I want to go into that. And I'm just there like, I know I love nutrition. I know I love everything we're learning, but I don't know what I specifically want to specialize in, right? I just didn't know what I wanted my niche to be in. I didn't know what I wanted to necessarily be an expert in, if you shall say. But what I ended up doing is that I ended up going with my experience. So I actually, we'll talk about this a little bit further on, but I actually ended up choosing, or I guess being experts in helping women heal their relationship with food, with binge eating, food freedom, all that stuff, because I have a lot of experience with that personally and I overcame that, right? So I'm like, this is actually would be the best things for me, because some people were like, really focusing on diabetes or focusing on, I don't know, I think a few people did Crohn's. Obviously, you can also do a general thing that would be more like going the traditional route, though, like working at a gym or, at a clinic or some way. What did other people do? Candida. I think some people did some Candida stuff. There's so many, I guess, different aspects, obviously, of nutrition. And some people did like gut stuff, like obviously gut health and things like that. So obviously, yes, there's so many different routes that you can go down, but that is the route that I chose. Food freedom, helping women heal their relationship with food. Let me also say that in this time, so around this time, December 2019, I also created my YouTube account. Not this account that you may be watching this on, but I have a personal YouTube account called Jessica's Area. Slight plug, but it is what it is. This may be my first time even talking about this on this profile, but whatever. Jessica's Area, I made that in December 2019, but I didn't tell anyone about it. I obviously was living with the fear of judgment at this point, didn't know how bad I was living with it, but I just knew it was bad because I made this YouTube account, didn't tell anyone about it, and I felt really comfortable with it, which is so crazy because nobody in my life knew. So I just felt like me and my YouTube family, literally, ew. I don't mean it like that, but you know what I mean. Me and my YouTube crew, my YouTube people, we just felt like we were in a safe, well, I felt at least that we were in a safe bubble on the internet where people in my real life didn't have to know that part of me or know that aspect of me or anything. This is when I knew the fear judgment was bad in my life and that it was literally probably at its peak, okay? When I knew that 100% I wanted to, when I finished my program, build this online nutrition business, I knew that obviously it had to be online. Online means visible. When you're visible online, that obviously means people have the opportunity, the chance to judge you, to have their opinions about you. But that's just kind of like, that's just the cost of being online. That's just what is part of the whole situation. There was also something scary to me about being in the position of teaching, people certain things, being in the position of being an expert in something. Just having, I guess, that sort of authority, that scared me. Obviously, the foundation of me wanting to build this nutrition business would be a social media account, social media presence. Like that's just going to be mandatory with what I wanted to build. I specifically remember living with the fear judgment and being like, wow, Jessica, you have to do something about this, because I would always be in my head thinking of the future, right? Thinking of, time is going by. I should really start this account. Like I know the things I want to post, the people who I want to reach, the people who I want my content to speak to, my future clients, the amount of women I can help, all these things that were constantly going through my mind. But it's like, if all these things stay in your mind, they just continue to be hopes, dreams, wishes. If you're not making it reality, like that doesn't really mean anything at the end of the day. There's a gap between knowing what you want and then actually doing that specific thing. And for me, I knew the way to close that gap would be to overcome the fear judgment. That is the only thing. That was my barrier that I had to cross, that I had to overcome. Otherwise, I'd be stuck where I was literally forever. Nothing would be moving forward into my life. I just had to accept the fact that I didn't have the luxury of being invisible anymore. I just didn't. And it's obviously ironic that I say this because throughout the whole time, I have this YouTube channel growing very slowly, but it's like another side of me is just posting freely to the world. But there's this side of me where I guess like, obviously you think about your friends and your not even my family, because my people, but friends and people who you grew up with and people from high school and elementary school and college and university, just people that you've passed through in life, experienced in life, being acquaintances with in life, all these things, coworkers and stuff. You think about everyone and you're just like, I don't even know if I can do this. It's like at one end of the spectrum, it's fun and games. The other end of the spectrum, it's actually serious, because when you start using social media as a business, it's just, I'm laughing, but it's just not fun and games anymore. Like, yes, obviously it can be, you know what I mean? But it's just, it becomes way more serious, becomes something totally different, visibility, all these things. Like you can have social media for fun and games and your account can be private. But if you're trying to really start something serious, sorry, babe, you're going to have to make your account public for the most part, okay? Obviously can't generalize, but you know what I mean. The thing about the fear of judgment is that it is definitely paralyzing, okay? It holds you back from doing the things that you want to do in life. Obviously, when I'm, talking to you guys from like a social media aspect, I know there's so many people who are living with the fear of judgment. You guys talk to me all the time. I see it in my TikTok comments. I see it in other people's TikTok comments. I see it in my DMs. It's like, I want to start social media, but I can't because I care too much about what other people may say, may think about me, people in my life, all these things, right? Basically everything that I mentioned earlier on in this episode. And the thing that is so tough with this social media and, the fear of judgment in general is that I know that if you overcome the fear of judgment, your life will change. I'm living proof of it. Everybody, literally every single person who has overcome the fear of judgment, your life doesn't stay the same. It cannot stay the same. It literally can't. There is a full 180-degree change that happens in your life when you overcome the fear of judgment. That is just a mandatory thing. It's just a byproduct. It has to happen, right? And I don't necessarily mean the things externally in your life. I mostly mean internally, because that's where you actually feel the change. That's where the change really happens. All the change that happens internally when you overcome the fear of judgment, you will see it externally, right? The confidence, the way that you're actually able to express yourself, being free, being comfortable in your body, all these things. And I obviously don't mean body just physically, but just comfortable with who you actually are, being your true self. Nothing beats that. Okay, now let's get into the point where I knew I had to start the process of overcoming the fear of judgment. So I was trying to get the exact dates for this, but I just couldn't figure it out. I don't know, because the thing about me is that in the old me, okay, if I want to rebrand or I don't know, guys, I'm just so easy to delete accounts. I just don't. Not that I don't care, but that was the old me, okay? I don't know. There's just been times in the past where I take an 11-month break off of Instagram. I delete my Instagram. That happened twice. So I couldn't figure out the dates, but from the best I could do with the research, that I had, I concluded that I believe it was 2018 to 2020. That's when I had no Instagram for about 2 years. I deleted my Instagram, okay? So I remember I had to make a new account because remember, now we're at the beginning of 2020. Let's say January, February. No, we're actually January-ish at 2020, okay? And I had to make a new account because I didn't have Instagram at that point. And I knew, as I said, I wanted to start this nutrition business. I'm finishing my school in March of 2020. Doesn't mean that I'm a nutritionist at that point, but it just means that I'm done school. And then obviously we had our exams coming up. I'll get into that too, because obviously we know what happened in the world in the March of 2020, but as I said, we'll get to that. So yes, I made a new account and obviously I didn't want anyone to know about it. I'm living with the fear of judgment. I could barely make this account, okay? So I didn't want anybody to know about it. I obviously didn't have Instagram at that point, so I don't even know people's usernames and stuff. And the thing about me is if I don't have a certain type of social media, I have no fake accounts. I've never had a Finsta. I'm just not doing that. If I want to creep somebody, I'll creep you from my real account. And if I don't have a real account on that social media platform, I guess I'm just not using it. It's never been that serious and it will never be that serious. Okay. So I make this account. I'm hoping, praying, wishing nobody finds me, but Instagram, it will always connect you to somebody, even though I always make sure I turn that stuff off. Do not connect to my Facebook friends. Do not connect to my contact list. Just don't do it. But I don't know, I guess all you need is just one person and then somebody finds you, another person finds you, whatever. So that ended up happening. It happened slowly though. It happened definitely slowly because in the beginning when your account is super new, obviously it's super new, but over time I do remember just people slowly finding me and stuff, and I'm okay, what am I gonna do, delete it and make a new account again? No, I knew that cycle had to stop. Sometimes I think back to that time in my life and I'm why didn't I just block people? But also, as I said, I didn't know anyone's account even. And it's it'd be so bad to not get someone, but someone, follows you and then you block them. I don't know if I could have handled that at that point in time, but a tip that I do give people now is that I do say that you should just block people from the beginning. Obviously, it is different for everyone, but I do think that if there's people in your mind that, when you think about starting social media, think about wanting to post or think about, wanting to do something online and they come into your mind and there's the few people or whatever that constantly come into your mind and they are stopping you from posting or doing something online, I do think in situations like that, that it's fine to block them, because if they are your barrier from doing the thing that you truly want to do, you're going to have to eliminate that and then just do what you want to do, right? It's not fair for you to overthink and constantly have these certain people in your mind all the time that are stopping you from posting. It's just, don't do it to yourself. Honestly, don't. So yes, it is the beginning of 2020 at this point. And guys, when I say that the fear of judgment is paralyzing, the reason why I always use that term, that word paralyzing, is because it is. I had the account, but I could not post. I could not do anything, okay? And I knew at that point that this problem, this issue was bigger than me. I couldn't figure it out by myself. I knew I needed help. I knew I needed guidance. I just knew I needed help. I couldn't do it by myself. I couldn't do it alone, okay? So in the beginning of 2020, January, I got a life coach, Zoey Arielle. Love her. I owe her my left arm. I owe her my left arm. She was amazing. She helped me. I worked with her for January, February, and March of 2020. And yeah, she literally changed my life. She literally changed my life. So she helped me so much in the beginning with the fear of judgment and posting and like just overcoming my fear in general, raising my confidence, just all these things that I needed. Period. I was going to start a full sentence, but I didn't even know I needed, period. I needed these things to happen for me to start this business online, for me to actually feel confident in myself, for me to just start posting. Like I needed her. And I'm so glad that she was able to actually help me. One thing that I need to say is that if you need help, especially within the fear of judgment realm, with anything, honestly, anything. I'm talking about the fear of judgment, but if you need help, ask for it, okay? Look for someone who's been through what you've been through. Look for someone who can actually help you, who can guide you, because there comes a time for some people like me that you just can't do it on your own, right? It's something bigger than you. And ask for the help, because there are people in this world, honestly millions of people that are there already and willing and wanting to help you. I just honestly do not know where I would be without her. So I'm so thankful for her. That whole situation, I think that was the first time in my life where I was like, wow, it's just, the problem is bigger than me. I think that made me realize that like, if I need help in something, obviously I'm still a work in progress. Like I'm not asking for help 24/7, but I definitely have opened my mind so much to understand that if I need help in something and somebody has been through it and somebody can help me, I should just go to them. I mean, so why just put myself in a difficult position that I don't have to be in? In the beginning, because obviously I had to start posting. Like that is just a mandatory thing. I've said it before many times on here, is that I would post, okay, but I would be sweating, I'd be hyperventilating, I would throw my phone across the room, I'd be freaking out. But the most important thing in that moment is that I was posting, okay? It didn't matter how I felt, is that I was posting, and obviously over time got more consistent, got used to it. Everything just started flowing naturally, honestly. I didn't have to throw my phone. I started feeling proud of my content instead of like overthinking every single thing. So over time, I just started to feel confident. And confidence is such an important thing when you're posting content, right? I've had a whole episode on this, but confidence doesn't come before you start posting. It comes afterwards. It comes throughout, you posting, and you just start feeling more confident in yourself and in your content. As I said, I finished my program March 2020. I think it was literally like the week of COVID. Once you finish my program, it's CSNN, by the way, Canadian School of Natural Nutrition. That is where I graduated from. When you finish the program, it doesn't mean that you're automatically a holistic registered nutritionist. Like, no, you finish the program, congratulations. Now you have a big test to study for, and that test will, when you pass, will determine, will give you the, accreditation. Did I make that word up? Obviously, I didn't pass from like an English major. With COVID and everything, I don't even exactly remember when we did the test or the exam, but I do remember it was in July. I was actually working out at home, and I got an email from my school, and it was like, oh, congratulations, blah, blah, blah. And I started freaking out, obviously. But it was a good thing, obviously, because now I feel like, and maybe this is also another thing I do want to make a whole podcast episode about, imposter syndrome and the fear of judgment, because Yes, I was posting before that. I'm now like, I've obviously fast forwarded into July, but yes, I was posting before that. But there is something different about having, that paper, being a true RHN. And I don't know, it just, I did have some imposter syndrome in the beginning. This is obviously not the same, um, example or spectrum of example, but it's just the first thing that came to my head. It's like giving medical advice. I don't know. I can't even relate it to med school because med school, like, you're in it. I don't know, guys. But just when you have that paper, you're just like, yes, like, this is who I am. This is me. This is the proof. Basically, what I'm trying to say is that the day I officially became a registered holistic nutritionist, a lot of imposter syndrome left me. At that point, I've been posting for about like half a year. So just everything was falling back into place. And then, yes, in August of 2020, Reels came out. I hopped in that very quickly. I think the first month of it. I don't know, because it was new, because I was like starting my business and everything. So everything was just flowing well in that moment. I also, wow, I can't believe I wrote this down. I also did I think I did 2 or 3 live series. So live, guys, live. I don't know, not the confidence, but everything just started flowing well. So I believe there were 6 to 8 weeks, and I did 2 or 3 rounds of them, not in a row, but just like in general. This must have been maybe within the course of a month. That's crazy. Within the course of a year or so. I don't know. But some of them were overall general nutrition information and tips. Others were more with like binge eating, food freedom, just things like that. Working out, the gym. And guys, live, I don't know. There was a point where I was like, I was going a little bit crazy because I'm like, oh, I overcame the fear of judgment. Now let's like take it up a notch. Let's go live. Yes. Okay. I'm not going to lie to you guys. Yes. I'm making it seem like, oh, I just did it. But no, just know that before every live, I was practicing the full live, by the way. I was practicing the full live. The full live was mostly scripted. I was practicing on camera. I would watch myself over and over again for like 7 days in a row, because the day I finished a live, I was like, whoo, weight off my shoulders, 1 minute to breathe, start the next new live, as in like start practicing it, start scripting it, all these things. But after, I believe it was the 3rd round, I was like, okay, I'm a professional in this. Obviously, it was challenging in the beginning, but I got used to it. Just like posting, in the beginning, it was so scary, so tough. And I got used to it as well. So now I'm like, posting is so easy. Posting is literally second nature to me. The easiest part of content creation in general at all is actually the posting part. Like, the harder part is editing. Honestly, the part that takes more time is editing. The easiest part for me is actually showing up on camera. Everything else is like, okay, that is what I take more time into. I don't know if this is a good or bad thing, but this is just me, especially once I overcame the fear judgment. So with me, and you'll know this, okay? If I'm not 100% into something, even if I'm 99%, okay, let's just say 98. If I'm 98% or less into something, I'm pivoting. Like, I can't do it if my heart is not 100% in it. And the reason why I say I moved down from 99 to 98 is because if I'm at 99% and I can't get back to 100, I know something's wrong. Okay, I know something's wrong. So with the nutrition, because some of you may be like, why are you not doing the nutrition stuff anymore? And this is why. Okay, so after about like 2 years of helping women heal their relationship with food, talking about food freedom, talking about binge eating, talking about, nutrition and food and all these stuff in general, I'm like, okay, I don't want to say I got bored, but it all came down to the same thing, right? So when you're helping women with these things and these like sensitive topics, it really is not about the food at the end of the day. And that's even with my experience too. It wasn't about the food at the end of the day. It's about things going on in your life, and you're using the food to cope with it some way, somehow, right? Everybody has different situations. Could be a control thing, self-worth, other traumas in your life, and food is like what makes you feel comfortable. Whatever the thing is, when I realized that the common thread amongst literally like, I would say 99, not even 99, honestly 100% of my clients at that point, when I'm like, wait, this common thread is like, it's not even a food related thing. It always is going to end back or relate back to something going on in life in general. I'm like, life coaching sounds a little a little tasty. I did a little bit of life coaching for like a year and a half, kind of. And then again, when I get down to like 99, 98, I just can't stay into something because it's working well or because I liked it at one point. Sunken cost fallacy, that won't get me. And I feel like, obviously, yes, I'm a creator, but I'm also a consumer of social media. And I feel like people, not just me, but you guys as well, obviously you're not dumb. Like, I don't think you are. I can tell when I'm watching someone's content and I'm like, wait, they're not even passionate about what they're talking about. Do they even want to talk about this subject anymore? I don't know. You can tell when somebody is just not in it anymore. Maybe they feel like they can't pivot. Maybe they feel like this is what they have to stay in, whatever the reason is. But I just feel like as consumers, most of us can tell on social media if somebody is just not 100% into something. And of course, people have bad days where they still have to record things like that. But I just mean like an overall general sense, general feeling, general energy that you just know that somebody is not 100% into it. And I never wanted that to be me. If I'm at 99% into something, I can't get back to 100. I know something's wrong and I'm going to pivot. That is just me. Again, another podcast episode that I might make in the future about pivoting, because I know there definitely is a link with pivoting and the fear judgment, as in like, you pivot and then you think, oh, people are thinking, oh, maybe this is not working out. Why are they changing? All in all, what I'm trying to say is that after the nutrition, after the life coaching, what I really realized at the end of the day, after everything, the common thread actually between those two things, which was like after, I guess, 3.5 years of like, in the online space, I'm like, wait, what I actually do love the most out of everything was creating the content, being on camera, the strategy, all these things, right? That's what I love the most. And then I pivoted into content creation, and that's where I've been ever since, honestly. Don't know what that accent was, but yeah, that's where I've been ever since. At one point, before actually creating the brand, Posted Anyway, I did talk about the fear judgment. It was on my personal TikTok a few years ago. If you want to scroll back, you can scroll back. I actually even have a playlist on my personal TikTok that says fear judgment, and I would talk about it here and there, but it just became really messy where I was like, okay, talking about the fear judgment one day, talking about veganism the next day, talking about traveling. It was just, for me, it became a little bit too messy. I knew I definitely did want to talk more about the fear judgment, but I did feel like I was limiting myself because, as I said, I can't, like, talking about so many different topics on one platform was literally, I just couldn't do it anymore. So at one point I actually stopped talking about the fear judgment, but then I just knew that I couldn't continue posting on social media, like being, my content creation stuff, and not talk about this anymore. Like, it really, I don't know. There's something, okay, sorry guys, my eyes are getting watery, but like, it's just, don't mind it. There's just something so fulfilling about wow. Okay, stop, Jessica. There's something just so fulfilling about talking about the fear judgment and helping people overcome this fear, because, as I said, I know that once you overcome this fear, like, your life changes, literally changes. So that is where Posted Anyway actually came from. That is the inception of the brand Posted Anyway. And now I feel very good because I have a whole platform where I can be like, this is fully fear judgment stuff. This is fully getting out of your comfort zone. This is fully for the people who want to start posting online, because I obviously know there are so many people that want to start doing this, but the fear judgment is stopping you, and that is where I come to help you. So yeah, some of you may know me from my personal social media at Just Kuma. Some of you may know me just from here, Posted Anyway, but either way, I just had to separate the two because I just love, I love having, like, it's not even two parts of me, because at the end of the day, Jessica, but Posted Anyway, it's for the creators, for the aspiring content creators, which I love. My life has definitely changed since overcoming the fear judgment. First of all, obviously, being able to put myself out there, coming from somebody who was so scared, like terrified, paralyzed, could not do it. That has been an amazing change. Obviously, my confidence, just like being able to show up as me, my confidence internally, externally, just, the thing that came to my head, it's so funny because I always tell you guys what comes into my head. When I say this, I mean this like in a in a good way, okay? Being a bad bee. I'm not going to say the full word, but just in that type of confidence, as in like, you know what, if this is what I want to post, I'm going to post it. Or if like, this is just who I am, accepting who you are, so you don't need other people's approval, right? Things like that. Things like that are truly priceless, honestly. Also, there is something that happens once you overcome the fear of judgment. You start to realize that nobody really cares. I mean that in a good way. It is a good way, honestly, because everybody's just so focused on themselves. Like, especially nowadays, everyone is just so focused on themselves that like you are truly wasting time, if you feel like everybody is thinking about you all day, every day. It's just not what's happening. Everybody's so in their own lane, focus on themselves. And then last but not least, I'm also not in my head 24/7. Like, that mental freedom is actually something that I can't even explain. It's like, if you're overthinking 24/7 about the fear judgment and what people may say, think, feel about you, when you have that mental freedom that alleviates itself, that is not there anymore, it's actually weird. Like, it's weird thinking about the past, how much I was in my head, and it's weird thinking about it now. My head is still busy, but not with like fear of judgment thoughts, right? It's just, I can't even imagine how, that makes no sense. I was going to say, I can't even imagine how I used to live like. I'm just saying, I can't go back to that brain. That's what I know. I can't go back to living with all these thoughts of the fear of judgment. I don't even have the capacity for it. I don't even have the capacity to think about it. It's just crazy how much your brain like releases once you overcome the fear of judgment. You may have had this moment in the past, or the moment may be coming up for you in the future, where you have to choose, am I going to continue living with the fear of judgment, or am I going to start the process of overcoming the fear of judgment? And I really, really hope that you choose whatever leads you closer to your dream. And we know which option that's going to be. That's all I'm going to say. The fear of judgment is only a barrier if you let it be, okay? I'm always going to tell you guys this, right? So the fear of judgment is something that you're living with right now. It does not have to be something that you live with for the rest of your life. It doesn't have to be. It could be a temporary thing in your life. Nobody is telling you it has to be permanent. The only person who's making the fear of judgment permanent in your life is yourself. If you are living with the fear of judgment and you do want to start posting content, I have something that I'm making, and it's going to help you to start posting content within 30 days. 100% guaranteed, you will start posting within 30 days. You don't have to be like me, living with the fear of judgment for years and years and years before you start posting. No, it could literally be within 30 days. I don't want you to go throughout another year of not posting, okay? I don't want you to go throughout another year of having to put content creator on your vision board, okay? I don't want you to go throughout another year wishing, hoping, dreaming, wanting, desiring to be a content creator, okay? I want you to actually start posting the content, and that is what I'm going to help you to do. 2026 is literally a year of action, okay? A year of change, and that is what's going to happen. No ifs, ands, or buts. That is it, okay? So I want to thank you guys so much for watching, for listening, wherever you're listening, wherever you're watching this video. I do appreciate each and every single one of you. Thank you so much once again, and I will see you in the next episode of Posted Anyway. Goodbye.